Preseason week 1 is in the books, and you know what that means. We gotta go through and figure out, what's going on with all these teams, and kind of just talk about some of our takeaways from what happened in the past week or so. This year we had preseason games more spread out than we usually do. Actually, Jake, how did it feel preseason week 1 to you?
Uh, well, I mean, there's nothing quite like overreacting to one preseason game of football, and that's exactly what we're going to do. Uh, Going to Detroit to watch the Bills play, that was fun. And then catching up on other games throughout the week. I mean, the ride back, I was watching some games, looking at stats, giving you updates, and then sitting down and relaxing, watching Carolina play Indy on, that was Sunday, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
That was just a nice, relaxing weekend, long weekend of football.
Yeah, I didn't get a chance to catch any games besides the Bills and Lions game live. Got to look back at about half of them, so you're gonna have to really educate me here on what happened in the other 50% of games over the weekend. But you're ready to get into it. You ready to get into it?
Yeah, let's jump in.
All right, so I've got my notes organized by division. So I guess here this is the first team that I'll run into. And I guess if you have any other things you want to talk about for any of the teams I mentioned too, you can. And you'll
All right.
just also teach me about the other ones. The Texans. I thought the thing that I took note of with the Texans. First off, this isn't what I was going to say, but I actually was a little more impressed with Davis Mills than I thought I would be. Then from there on, I just have to say that Chris Conley may actually have a bigger role in this offense than I anticipated for him. He was really interesting to see how he was hooking up early with the quarterbacks there, and he was just doing well. And I wasn't really thinking of him as a high wide receiver on their team, but if he plays like he did in preseason week 1, then I'd say he's a starter on this team, and maybe even a fantasy option some weeks of the season. I don't think you want to be rocking with Houston Texans wide receivers too often, but if you're in a pinch, hey, go grab Chris Conley.
Yeah. The one note that I had on Houston that you didn't cover was they're paying Desmond King so little money. Return specialist Desmond King, more like it. Who needs him to play corner when he's getting 45 plus yard returns?
Absolutely, absolutely. And then keeping it in the division, one of the next note I have for the Tennessee Titans is kind of a thing I've talked about before with you that I think is really interesting. And I kind of want to hear your thoughts on this as well. Brian Hill is the running back 3 now in terms of the rotation. I was talking about how he's basically going to act as the RB2 this season, not being able to do anything for this team because Derrick Henry's just going to get the bulk of the carries. But really, no. He's actually the RB3 now. He can't even get up to the RB2 spot, which I thought was really interesting to see.
Yeah. Tennessee loves having guys behind Derrick Henry. Like, there's no one like Derrick Henry, but they love having guys behind Derrick Henry that are nowhere in his stratosphere, like built like him at all, frame like his. They just want guys that are like 5'9" or shorter playing running back, that are like receiving backs. And Jeremy McNichols, I mean, he's still the incumbent, so maybe they're competing for that 2 spot, but yeah, I thought that was strange too. I'm like, oh, Brian Hill went there so he could still be a running back. Oh no, he went there for a demotion. Like, it was weird.
Yeah, very strange to me. You got anything else on the Titans?
Uh, yeah, their defense was better than what I expected. Going because we looked at them and that's their weak spot. Like 50% of the ball game is their weak spot. Uh, but I was impressed with how well they held up. Not that going against Atlanta is really much of a challenge, especially with the backups that they were playing. But I was impressed seeing them get after the quarterback.
I thought their secondary really improved this offseason, and I guess specifically in a matchup against Atlanta, I would hope that they would be able to shut down some of the solid receiving threats they have on that team, because I do think the secondary for the Titans looks good this year. Team I didn't get to check out really in the I may have watched, I may have actually checked this one out, but I think it was like while I was falling asleep, so I didn't get anything on them. Jacksonville Jaguars, did you have anything of note for them that you wanted to point out?
The one thing that I wrote down, the main point that I wanted to, well, I could say that Trevor Lawrence looked good. Gardner Minshew was not up to snuff where I was hoping that he'd be. really giving Trevor Lawrence a run for his money, maybe competing to start week 1. He did not look too great. And then the second note that I had was Tebow definitely deserved to be cut. But we talked about that yesterday, so
Absolutely. Check out that video yesterday if you didn't see that yet. And then I got the Colts next. For the Colts were interesting. I just got to them today to see what was going on in that game. I thought Jacob Eason's arm still looked really good. We talked about before, his arm looks really strong. He just needs to get a little bit better at reading the field, honestly, and not kind of get over basically what you would expect a rookie quarterback to have trouble with. Like, look very athletic, but just need to actually understand how to read defenses because he's making a few bad decisions, but nothing too terrible, nothing you can't work with.
yeah, him and Sam Ehlinger both looked pretty clean in that game. I think if it comes down to it, Jacob Eason can win him a couple games in that tough stretch there, maybe one. And even then, if he wins that one game, I am putting him on my shoulders and carrying him around because it's going to be tough for the Colts to win games. And if Carson Wentz isn't available, I can trust Jacob Eason to win them after seeing, because, have to overreact after one game. I can trust him to win a couple of games after that performance.
Okay. Next up, AFC East. The Buffalo Bills, the game we attended in Detroit. If you didn't check out our video of us going to Detroit, I think that's a pretty fun video, the way that's put together. So hopefully you can enjoy that if you haven't seen it yet. Go back on the channel, check it out. But my big note here is that Jake Fromm is clutch because he can go the entire fourth quarter not doing a thing, and then finally, once it's fourth down with the game on the line, he goes deep to Marquez Stevenson and puts us in field goal range to get us the win.
Yeah, our buddy Vinny that whole game. When's Jake Fromm getting in? When's Jake Fromm getting in? Come on, where are they going to bench Davis Mills and put Jake Fromm in? And then Jake Fromm looks like crap. But he was still hyped. He was still behind him the whole time. And then he makes that throw. And I don't think there's anyone yelling louder out of the four of us than him when he completed that pass.
Yeah, Davis Webb, though. Davis Webb, not Davis Mills. I know you're really excited about the Texans this season.
David Stills, Davis Mills, and Davis Webb. I'm just getting them all mixed up.
It's okay. It's a hard league. Got to remember all these names.
Yeah.
Next up, Patriots. I liked what I saw from Mac, but my main note is on Cam Newton. Just missing easy throws still, even if it's the preseason. Kind of the past 3 years, it's just been the running element of his game has saved him in that you can build an offense around it. But man, if he was just a drop back passer, this would be miserable. If he's a starting quarterback in the NFL, he should not be starting based off how he's throwing the football. Because when he can't hit a screen pass or even sometimes just realize what type of touch he needs to put on the ball for a pass he needs to make, it hurts his team a lot, and it's just something that I got to point out there.
Yeah, and the biggest example of that was a report came out of their practices with the Eagles. I can't remember the linebacker's name, but all practice he's like, he's going to dump it off, and he just keeps calling him check down king. And he keeps screaming, running back, and they're blowing it up all practice because Cam, it really just sucks to see how far he's fallen. Because he can make some wild throws, but now it's like even a dump off is tough for him.
Yeah, I wasn't too excited, but on the Mac bandwagon, I'm ready to see him get on the field. And I'm actually excited about the fact that Belichick hasn't told Cam that he's the starter yet, because that actually does leave room for Mac to win the starting job. And based off what happened week 1, I don't think it's out of the realm of possibilities yet. I did check out the Jets and Dolphins games highlights, but I didn't get anything down for them at the time while I was watching. I was in a rush all weekend, like I said, getting to school. I don't know if I said that on here, but I just spent like the past 6 days in a row traveling, and I finally slowed down for a second. Maybe I should let the fans know that. So yeah, I checked out the Jets and Dolphins games, but I didn't have anything for them. I guess the one thing about the Dolphins is I'm still not really too impressed with Tua. But what do you got for the Jets and the Dolphins?
Yeah, same thing for the Dolphins. Tua, I was really hoping he would surprise me this preseason and show improvement. because I'm giving him the benefit of the doubt in that category. Josh Allen wasn't great his rookie year, and if we're Bills fans bashing Tua, I should give Tua the same benefit of the doubt. Yikes, man. Jacoby Brissett looks like he's the best quarterback on that roster. Just Tua throwing a red zone interception into triple coverage, and then Jacoby Brissett leading him on a nice drive down the field. It's like night and day between those two guys. So I hope he figures it out, because football's more fun when it's competitive, and just the league is better as a whole when there's great rivalries. But yikes, it seems like the Bills are just going to keep rolling over the Dolphins, and maybe even the Jets could do that too. But moving on to the Jets, my one note for them, I mean, Zach Wilson impressed me. He had some big third down conversions. There were the two drive teams in there, but Vincent Smith, the wide receiver, sneaky good. Really liked what I saw from him. He was making some clutch catches, some big catches too. Getting first downs, doing some stuff after the catch. I liked what I saw from Vincent Smith.
Yeah, I thought the ball coming out of Zach Wilson's hand looked like it had an amazing amount of zip on it. Like I don't know why he just looked so smooth on the release, like it's coming out like a rocket. Even if he wasn't like cocking his arm back all the way and getting like a ton on it, it just looked smooth. So I guess right now I'm glad, even though I had Wilson as my fifth quarterback. I'm glad I didn't trash him as much as you did, because he didn't do anything quite yet to make me say that he was terrible.
We'll see. It's preseason for everybody.
That's very true. Very true. All right, AFC West. I didn't catch a lot of the AFC West. I've got to say this is one of the divisions I got the least from. The only team I hit on in the AFC West was the Chargers, and I just have to say that I thought Chase Daniel looked pretty solid. He looks like he can run an offense. He's a veteran. It's to be expected, and it could also probably help out Justin Herbert if he wants another guy in that quarterback room that has a little bit more experience. So that's a good thing. He can be a solid mentor, and that's what I got for the Chargers.
Yeah, watching Chase Daniel play, and just seeing that offense, and I'm thinking, put Justin Herbert under center in that offense with all the play action, the rollouts, the misdirection. It just looks like a Shanahan offense. I'm like, Herbert in this is going to be awesome. Like, with a stronger arm, it's going to be great. So that got me excited watching them. And then the other AFC West teams. The Chiefs played the 49ers. The Chiefs offense is picking up right where it left off. I mean, Andy Reid was having the starters play for a good chunk of that first quarter. And it was exciting just to see like Patrick Mahomes pick apart guys that are trying to like make the team. I'm like, Andy, this isn't even fair. But that offense hasn't lost a step. They're still using speed to kill everybody. The Raiders. Nate Peterman, Zay Jones connection is still alive and well.
Ooh, really?
Nate Peterman keeps remaining the best preseason quarterback of all time. He looked so good. He threw a touchdown pass to Zay, and he had another like 30, 40-yard pass to Zay on the sideline that he just snagged in. Like, you have to go back and watch that game, because those two catches alone are worth it. That's what I have for the Raiders. And then for the Broncos, Drew Lock looked good, man. He actually looked good. Him and Teddy both had their good plays. Neither of them looked bad, but Drew Lock looked better. And I think if Drew Lock and Teddy Bridgewater both play good, Drew Lock is always going to look better, just because Teddy takes way less risks. So if Drew Lock hits on his risks, that's what makes him look good. Teddy looks good if he's just consistently hitting these dump downs and picking offenses apart with the underneath game. And then also on the defense, Pat Surtain, he looked like cornerback one for them. Like the Broncos brought in like 15 guys to play corner, which I don't blame them, because they had like none that week 15 game against the Bills. But Pat Surtain looked like he was the best out of the bunch.
Yeah, I did go once again, another game I caught, but I didn't take any notes down for Broncos. Yes, absolutely looked. I thought I was really impressed with the Broncos. The only thing I was wondering about is if Minnesota had played their starters, how that game would have went a little bit differently, especially considering the Broncos really have two number one caliber quarterbacks to go through most of that game. I thought that gave them a good advantage. But then, yeah, the Pat Surtain pick six was tremendous. And Drew Lock did look good in the time he was playing. I thought that you hit the nail right on the head with that. AFC North. For Pittsburgh, I'm still just looking at Najee Harris, man. Every single week, I think of this preseason, I'm just going to be looking at Najee Harris. And I really still like his ability, even if he didn't do anything insane in terms of yards per carries or catches or anything like that. I just like how he looks. I think he looks good on the field. And I'm going to be interested once like the actual whole offense gets out there as the entire group of number one players, how that actually comes together for Pittsburgh.
Yeah, I was watching Najee too. He looked all right. I mean, it's preseason for everybody, so I'm not going to blame him if he's off a little bit. But guy that wasn't off, Dwayne Haskins, he looks like he's going to win that QB2 spot. Mason Rudolph is just too vanilla, man. He's just too bland. Dwayne Haskins actually does a bit more. Stephen A. Smith was right. He's just a runner. Completely joking about that. He did make some plays out of the pocket, though, that I was impressed to see him move that well. Because, that Stephen A. Smith clip is just
beautiful.
Phenomenal.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
How did I can't even remember. How did Josh Dobbs look this week? Is Mason Rudolph a potential cut candidate, like out of nowhere?
It might be. It might be.
That'd be wild if he ends up out of the league already. I don't know. Somebody probably sign him though.
If Josh Rosen can get 8 chances, I'm pretty sure Mason Rudolph can sign onto some team to be a third stringer or backup.
You're probably right. Next team I got for the AFC North. This is I don't have notes for the Ravens or the Browns, but the Bengals. Kicker from Florida, Alex McPherson or Evan McPherson. It's one of I think it's Evan McPherson. Yeah, he looked good. He looked really smooth kicking the ball. And I know that that's a crazy thing to point out, but I just thought he looked so good in the game that I had to point it out because he's a rookie kicker. The other thing that's funny about this that I didn't mention so far in going back through and checking out these games on the highlights on like the NFL's YouTube channel or whatever is it's so funny how they obviously probably have like 16 interns all watching an individual game and doing the whole highlight section for each game because they're not telling them what to do. They're just saying, hey, do the highlights for this game. And then they're going to like hire the ones on that do the best. Because you got the Bengals and Bucks game that's 20 minutes of highlights. And some other games only have like 8 minutes. It's like, it's like both of these games were actually played out very similarly, had like the same amount of big splash plays or whatever, and they're made completely differently. I just funny that coming back to your point of it's preseason for everybody, like even the NFL YouTube channel, just all over the place. But yeah, Bengals kicker looked good.
The other thing that I had for the Bengals was Zach Taylor actually developed an offensive playbook, ? And by developed it, I mean completely ripped off the Steelers playbook from last year because it seems like his strategy to protect Joe Burrow is not draft offensive linemen. It's get the ball out of his hands as fast as possible. I understand Joe Burrow didn't play week 1 of the preseason. It was, what's his name? Brandon Allen. Brandon Allen. But so many quick passes. And I like that. I like that for the Bengals. Until you get offensive linemen, that works. And Zach Taylor is showing innovation and doing something different. I might actually remember his face by the end of the season if he does something wild. So, Bengals, more than 5 wins, book it. 3rd in the division.
Yeah, more than 5 wins. Wow, 3rd in the division. That's some big stuff right there.
I don't know if I'm fully committed to that, but it's preseason, so I can just make some wild predictions.
The Ravens and the Browns. Any interesting stuff from them? I feel like I may have caught something of the Browns, but I can't even remember who they played, so maybe not. I don't know if I caught either of these games, actually.
Well, the Saints were at the Ravens, and holy turnovers. That's what I wrote for the Ravens. They were forcing turnovers from every quarterback that played. Taysom, Jameis, Ian Book. They looked like a great squad from top to bottom, their whole defense. And that's what's really going to get them far, too. Well, the offense is good, too, but just having that great defense. I can't even remember how many turnovers they forced. I think it's more than 4 that whole game. I know they got an interception from each quarterback. And they had some fumble recoveries in there, too. A lot of turnovers for them.
Did you catch any? What's his name? The second kid from TCU, Ardarius Washington. Did Ardarius
Darius Washington.
Washington make any plays at all?
He was in there for a couple tackles, and I remember seeing him like standing next to the defensive lineman and on the tackle. I was like, oh, he's so small. He is so little. And then this Browns game, they were at Jacksonville, and Kyle Lauletta played a lot of that game. I'm a big Kyle Lauletta fan. Been with the Giants and bounced around. He's with the Browns now. He throws that ball at 1,000 miles an hour at the receiver. Doesn't matter how close he is. He is chucking that ball 1,000 miles an hour at his chest. And it, like, if you go and watch that game, it is hilarious just to see, like, these third and fourth string receivers just, dude, why are you throwing it that fast? I ran a slant and there's no one near me, and you're throwing it, like, so fast. It was wild.
Yeah, that's fun. I like that one. Okay, and I do remember now. Yes, it was the Browns playing the Jaguars, and again, just lost in the shuffle for me slightly. Now we can move to the NFC though. I feel like we're making some pretty good time here. Not going too slow or too fast. Tampa Bay at the Buccaneers. This was the game against the Bengals. I always find it always seems funny to see what matchups just randomly get put together in the preseason. I don't know, Bucs Bengals just feels weird. But I love that Tom Brady still needs preseason because he doesn't have enough experience yet, and that's my one note for the Buccaneers.
Yeah, I saw Adam Rank or someone on NFL Network say, like, because Sam Darnold didn't play in the preseason, or preseason week 1. They were like, if Mahomes and Tom Brady are playing, then you better play. I'm like, that's not how it works. If the coach doesn't want you to play, you're not going to play. It's not Sam Darnold's fault that Bruce Arians is a madman and he's letting a 45-year-old man out there to play quarterback in a preseason game.
I've got to say really quickly, if I was a coach, I watch these first drives and they're usually so broken. Like really, if you just say you're going to give your starter like one drive or something, it's usually like so broken looking that it's like it's not even worth it. And it's like even bothering to put him out for 1 or 2 series. It's just like this is just stupid. I really, if I was an NFL head coach, I hate to say this because I like as a fan I want preseason to be more exciting. But if I was an NFL coach, yeah, I would really consider like not playing any of my starters like almost the entire preseason. Maybe one game. If I give them one game, though, they're probably going to play like a full half, though, because I want them to have any sort of rhythm built at all. Mm-hmm. Like, if you're not going to give them any time to like start gelling, don't bother to risk injury.
Yeah. It's like, oh, you want Tom Brady to throw 6 passes? Why? Doesn't make any sense. For Tampa Bay, same thing that I said for the Ravens, really. Their defense and the depth of that defense is wild. Just sending everyone and creating so much pressure throughout the game, all the way to the end. It's crazy, and I love Todd Bowles' defense that he runs because he's just harassing these third-string quarterbacks, or he's going to be harassing them this preseason.
Yeah. I once again didn't have a note for the Saints, so if you want to tell me about the Saints a little bit here, let me know.
Jameis v. Taysom, that ends round 1 with a tie. Like I said when I talked about the Ravens. Jameis had more yards than he threw for a touchdown, but they both had a turnover. Which, I mean, Jameis 1 touchdown, 1 turnover, really, like, that's expected. You want that ratio from him. You want Jameis to finish with a 1-to-1. But Taysom throwing that pick, kind of bad. Ian Book, though, looked crisp. Looked real crisp.
What if he actually comes out and wins this job? What if Sean Payton?
It would redeem me so much for having him very high in my top 10 for quarterbacks and you not even watching him.
Fair enough. When I watched the Falcons, I thought it was really funny to see that Felipe Franks, he was enjoyable to watch, but not only on the times where he actually did scramble past the line of scrimmage, but just the fact that, like, it felt like every time he was dropping back, there was just immediate pressure always. And it's like, okay, first off, that makes us, like, appreciate the fact that Matt Ryan has looked good there for so long. I know it's, like, probably second and third string lineman, but, like, I mean, usually if one tier is, I don't feel like the tiers change too much. Like, I feel like the Browns probably have a decent amount of solid number twos because they've got a decent amount of solid number ones, right? And that may be like wishful thinking on my part, but that generally seems to be my thought process.
Well, Felipe was playing with the threes mainly, and that might be. I think there's more significant drop off. Well, obviously, from 1 to 3 than there is 1 to 2. That might be what it is.
Well, I was thinking he was out there with the twos, but yeah, if he's with the threes, you're right. I mean, some of those number 3 offensive linemen just drop off terribly. But the fun thing about Felipe is that I 100% believe in the fact that no matter how bad of an offensive line he may have to play behind, if he ever gets into an NFL game for any reasonable amount of time, he will be prepared to run for his life the entire time because he looked pretty good doing it behind what he had.
Yeah, Felipe looked good. The one thing that I have to say about that whole game, though, was Arthur Smith really disappointed me. Looking forward to seeing what he did. He did not do a lot that was good. And he's working with a guy that's like similar to Matt Ryan and A.J. McCarron, who's the backup. A.J. McCarron's a little bit more athletic. But you don't have to stray too much away from what your actual game plan is going to be. And it looked terrible. It looked terrible what he was running. And I don't know if that's just because... Definitely, probably because of this. But definitely, probably. But Vrabel knows what he's running on offense. So it wasn't the best litmus test of he's going against the team that had to practice against his offense but he's also going against the defense that he'd have to practice against. So, I don't know. It was just not impressed with what he did, and he disappointed me because I had him as my number 1 head coach pickup this offseason.
I hope that it's also because it's preseason and he doesn't want to show all of his cards. But
yeah, it's preseason for everybody.
You know. One of the teams that I had the most fun watching because of, the quarterback who got probably the most time for this team, the Carolina Panthers. P.J. Walker was reading the field really well, kind of doing the exact opposite of what we said with Jacob Eason. He was reading the field extremely well and looking just as athletic as he did in the XFL. But the only thing is that he kind of missed some throws a few times, just like missing his target. But I mean, man, he reads the field well, and he's super athletic. If he could just like draw in a few of those misses, he is a talented guy.
We have a QB controversy in Carolina. If he maintains this kind of play all preseason and he cleans himself up a little bit, and Sam Darnold still stays New York Sam Darnold, I'd take the more athletic guy in that, because I think Sam Darnold is New York Sam Darnold, and P.J. Walker currently what he showed in that one preseason game. Same person. P.J. Walker's more athletic.
Well, like I said to you, if we can get, I know this is a slightly different conversation, but just because I mentioned it to you earlier before we started recording, I mean, if just because Sam Darnold started playing when he was so young, I mean, if he just has like a Phillip Rivers type career, like just kind of a really middle of the road guy, not really doing anything too crazy, but he's always playing well enough that he's never going to get swapped out for another quarterback. Well, then, I mean, he could be the NFL leader in passing yards by the end of his career just because he started playing so early. Because really, I mean, if he has a year this year like Baker had his rookie year, then technically we should be looking at them on like an even playing field, because he's the same age now as Baker was when Baker was drafted, right? So, I mean, hey. Mm-hmm. But, yeah, no, I think just because, I guess I kind of got to that point there because it comes back to the idea of Sam Darnold being so young. I feel like he'd have to play even worse than he did with the Jets to really be pushed out by P.J. Walker. I don't know. Is P.J. Walker like 26 or 27? I can't remember.
Yeah, he's around there.
So I don't know. It'll be an interesting thing. If Darnold does play poorly, though, I'm very interested to see what can happen. If P.J. Walker starts playing significant snaps. We saw him in one game last year. One game's not a big enough sample size, though. I would really like to see what he could do against like NFL caliber defensive players on a week-to-week basis. That would be really fun to see.
Yeah.
Oh, and just I didn't mention this. I actually had 2 notes for them. Sorry, but Chuba Hubbard looks faster than he did in college for me. I don't know. He looked really quick.
Everyone's looking faster than they did in college for you.
It's weird. It's really weird. The NFC East, For the Eagles, I just have to say that generally, I have to say that their tight ends could actually help mask their receiver depth. Like the lack of receiver depth could really get helped out by the fact that Zach Ertz is back at least somewhat healthy. Dallas Goedert looked good, and then I guess whoever else was there, I think was it Tyree Jackson? Was he one of the guys? But now he's hurt, so I mean that stinks for them. But I did think that their tight end group in general just looked good throughout the entire game, and I think that could help the less than crazy receivers. But also they're hyping up a ton of guys out there in Philadelphia now, so we'll have to see how all that turns out. Maybe the Eagles are a heck of a lot better on offense than we anticipated.
Mm-hmm. For them, I said their offensive weapons. Look, Quez Watkins. Who would have thought that Quez Watkins was going to just burst onto the scene like he did? That was wild. But main note was Tyree Jackson. I think Tyree Jackson would have made it really easy for them if he wouldn't have gotten hurt, which really sucks because he looked good. But he would have made it so easy for them to move on from Zach Ertz because I think the only reason they still have him is because the asking price for him is up there because they're like, oh, well, we think he's worth X and X amount. But Tyree Jackson, we got two good tight ends. We can get rid of Zach Ertz for like a 5th or 6th round pick now, something that we wouldn't even think about doing. Now that Tyree's hurt, I don't think that's going to happen, but jeez, that sucks a lot, man, because I liked watching him play, and I like Tyree Jackson as a player. I hope he can get back and healthy and be on that team. Maybe they put him on IR, he comes back healthy, because I want to watch him keep playing, because he looks like he can make that Logan Thomas type of transition.
Yeah, he could. I mean, he'll be out. I think it said like 6 weeks. So I mean,
8 to 10 is what I saw.
Oh, 8 to 10. Jeez. I don't know about that. I mean, especially with him being the third tight end on roster, that's going to be hard if they get him back that far into the season. Then yeah, it's going to be difficult. But as for Quez Watkins, it was interesting. At the end of last year, Quez Watkins actually kind of had like a few like highlight reel type plays, like he just did in preseason week 1, which was good to see. But yeah, he's a really interesting guy to check out. And then, we've got Davonte Smith, Heisman Trophy winner. I have no doubts about him. I think he's going to be plenty good this first year. But the other guy, too, Jalen Reagor, not really showing out in the game, but geez, again in camp the other day, making another crazy catch. Not trying to get, too much on this Philly hype wagon, but I said I like Sirianni. And, man, if these guys keep making plays, meaning the tight ends, guys like Quez Watkins, Jalen Reagor step up, and like I already said, I like Davonte Smith. Then it's kind of just coming back to the run game, which I don't really have any doubts about the run game because the doubts were all in the passing game because I didn't think the receivers were good enough. The O-line's plenty good. I think they've got talented enough running backs. Maybe this team will be a lot better than I thought. I don't know. I know it's only preseason, ready for some overreactions. I mean, preseason week 1 overreaction, majorly probably. But yeah, I don't know. I'm just getting a lot more interested based off what I saw there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, keep Joe Flacco as the starter. Yeah, I completely agree.
Yeah, that's what I said. The other team I caught for the NFC East was the Washington football team. I have to say Fitzpatrick looks as confident as ever and really only gets better with age. Fine wine Fitzpatrick out here. And that's what I got. So you can cover the football team, and then you can also tell me a little bit about the Cowboys and Giants if you got anything.
All right. Fitzy and Heineke, is that closer than what we thought? That just watching him play, Fitzy looked more confident, but Heineke was making some better throws.
Well, that's what I thought would happen. I mean, I thought it was arguable beforehand. I thought you could say Heineke could start over Fitzpatrick. I mean, other people didn't, but yeah, no, I still think it's close. I just think that Fitzpatrick is going to get the nod based off coach's decision. That's what I feel like is going to happen.
No, you're right. I was impressed with what Heineke did. I didn't think he would close the gap as much as I had it built up in my mind. For the boys, though, their receivers were catching some hospital balls that whole game. Ben DiNucci, Cooper Rush, Garrett Gilbert. They were trying to kill these guys that are trying to make roster spots. Oh, my Lord. It was so bad. Like, Simi Fehoko, our guy, he was having to go up and make some plays while getting rocked. I'm like, oh, jeez, Ben, if you could just lower that ball like 3 feet so this guy doesn't have to jump up and just expose himself to getting rocked. But they were making the catches. That's the thing. It's a bad thing for all the quarterbacks, but these receivers were catching them and coming down with them, especially on that last drive. Well, not the last scoring drive for the Cowboys. Before everything got messed up and the Cardinals ended up winning it, but that last drive looked good with the catches that the receivers were making.
Yeah. The Giants played the Jets, and I caught some of that while I watched it back afterwards, but I can't even remember like much of what the Giants did. I just remember the Zach Wilson stuff mainly.
Yeah, I watched and took notes the entire time, and I barely remember anything because the one thing that my mind was focused on, and I made this joke about Sam Darnold not playing for Carolina. It's like, oh, why isn't he playing, but Mahomes and Brady are? Because the starters aren't playing. Joe Judge, there's no reason for Daniel Jones to not be playing in this preseason game. There's zero reason for him to not be playing in this preseason game. Like, Daniel Jones's roster spot should not even be locked down. How is he not playing? And after watching it, I had to look. And is he hurt? Like, why isn't he playing? Nope, just we're playing him. So stupid.
That's entertaining.
So stupid.
That is why I don't remember that game at all, because they just put their backups on the field when they're not even what were they 6-10 last year?
Yeah. The Jags did the right thing. The Jags were bad last year, and they played their starters almost the entire game. The Jags played their starters almost the entire game.
They need to get reps.
Which is what you should do. That's what you should do if you're a bad team. I don't know if the Giants and the Cardinals may be closer in their thinking than I think they are. Because you and I both think the Cardinals won't be good, but there are people that think the Cardinals can't be good. No one thinks the Giants are going to be good. But the coaching staffs from those teams think they're going to be awesome. So maybe that's why Joe Judge thinks that he can bench all the starters for a preseason game.
And jeez, I hate how this conversation's going, because I really don't want to be by the end of this, I really don't want to be forget everything I said. The Eagles are going to have a winning record and the Giants are going to go 0-17, because I don't think that's what's going to happen actually. I don't know. Yeah, no, it's more and more, the more and more you get to see a coach make decisions, the more and more you can come to conclusions about liking them or disliking them. And yeah, I have to say this is definitely a decision that is not trending in the right direction for the New York Giants. I don't like it either. It doesn't really make sense to me.
Yeah.
As for the next division we got two left. We got the NFC West and the NFC North. Let's hit the West first. Because I only get to really check out one team for the NFC West that I have notes on, and that's the Rams. Today I watched what they did. I thought their quarterback that was acting like Jared Goff, as in wearing Jared Goff's old number, was very fun, mostly because he plays like a complete... He's not even close to Jared Goff, which is entertaining. But also, Duck Hodges really feels like he came out of his shell from Pittsburgh, and really looks like he's got some swagger to his game now. Just all those Rams...
With the loose sleeves, loose sleeves wearing number 19. Looks like he's got some swagger to him.
All those Rams QBs were fun to watch. I actually didn't notice the loose sleeves. Maybe I should have been paying more attention, but... wasn't he wearing a visor? I don't remember Duck Hodges wearing a visor.
No, he wasn't wearing a visor.
Oh, geez, man. Maybe I'm looking at the wrong guy. I don't know. I thought I will say that all the Rams quarterbacks were very entertaining to watch today for me.
Yeah, I love the Rams punt return formation. And that just big football guy here. They had two guys back. They had a PP for the returner. Back there, and I like that look. It's interesting. I like when teams innovate, and it worked too. I'd be talking about the same exact thing. If it didn't work, I'd be making fun of it. But it worked, and they got a big return off of it. More teams should do that. More teams should innovate and change, because it gets me talking about you, and we're the biggest NFL media platform on all of YouTube. So if you can get me talking about you, you're doing something right.
Yeah, we're the biggest. I have to say I've seen that before. That's not as uncommon as maybe thinking it is, but I don't
Well,
know
running it in preseason
that maybe
is
that no. But let me say this. I don't know if I'm overlapping like high school, college, NFL. It may be more common at lower levels, but I've definitely seen it like consistently enough where it's not shocking to me. But yeah, I don't think it's like as often in the NFL for whatever reason.
yeah.
I do like it though because I mean you never know which one of the guys that's like a gunner type player, whether that's the long snapper, one of the outside gunners, the personal protector. You never know which guy's going to be the one to come free quickest to the returner, and just having a guy back there that's set to block that guy, I don't think it's a bad idea at all. The only thing you're risking there is if teams really want to start running fakes consistently, which I don't think anybody's about to start doing anytime soon. So,
Just don't
yeah, I
do it
wouldn't
against the
worry about it too
Patriots.
much.
Just don't do it against the Patriots. That's the only thing I'd say. Because Belichick probably has something deep down in his Rolodex of plays. Like, oh, they're running this formation. Well, I have the perfect play for us to get a first down here with it.
All right, teach me about the other NFC West teams.
The other NFC West team. So that would be what?
Cardinals,
The Seahawks?
Seahawks, 49ers.
Cardinals and the Seahawks and the 49ers. Well,
Whoever you want
let's
first.
start with the 49ers. Trey Lance had one great play and a couple of great throws, and everyone is acting like he had the best performance out of all the quarterbacks. I like Trey Lance. Trey Lance is my favorite quarterback out of this whole rookie class. Do not overhype him that much. He had one beautiful throw and a couple good ones after that, and then just a lot of throws where he was off. And it's fine to be a rookie quarterback and have throws that are off. It happens. But the hype that he's getting off that 80-yard completion is wild. Like, I love it for him. I love Trey Lance. But, like, he did not have the best performance out of all the rookie quarterbacks. He had one fantastic play and a couple good throws after that.
That's very funny for me to hear you say that because I didn't think that based off the fact that Trey Lance was your number one QB, I thought you would be like immediately like, see, I was right.
No, I was right though.
Or wait, sorry, maybe I'm misremembering. Was he number 1 or 2 for you?
Justin Fields was in my rankings. Justin Fields was 1. Trey Lance was 4.
Oh, okay. It's just that he's your favorite. I'm sorry.
He's my favorite.
I completely screwed that up. He is your favorite, but yeah, no, I thought that throw was. I did see that throw, and that throw was really impressive. But okay, good note, I guess. What do you about the Seahawks? What do you got about the Seahawks? Some fun
Their
coaching.
Their defense looked pitiful. It was terrible. Like they lose Shaquille Griffin, who's probably the best player on their defense, minus like Jamal Adams and Wagdaddy last year, and they replace him with Akila Witherspoon, and they're getting burned like the whole game. It was so like by Nathan Peterman and Zay Jones. You were getting picked apart. It's not good.
Man,
The starting corners were out there. The starting secondary players. They were getting picked apart. That just pitiful performance by them. And then for the Cardinals, make Chase Edmonds the running back 1. Like, who else they got? James Conner? Yeah, no. Chase Edmonds is your running back 1. He had like 4 touches and made each one of those touches look fantastic. So, make him running back 1, please.
Okay. So, all right. That interesting Cardinals note, but I really am excited to go back and check out Vegas, Seattle now that you're really giving me some interesting headlines to think about this game now. And then the NFC North. I have notes for 2 of these teams. One of them was pretty easy because we watched the Lions in person, so that was exciting. And I guess I'll hit on my Lions note first. Actually, do you have anything specific that you wanted to say about the Lions? Because I kind of have 2 things that I want to go over.
Tom Kennedy is clutch. Tom Kennedy better make that roster. He looked really good.
Okay, yeah, that's the one thing that I wanted to say is that Tom Kennedy, next Wes Welker. But really, the other thing that I think I need to hit on here, just because we haven't had the opportunity yet to talk about it, is really didn't like how Dan Campbell coached the end of that game. It's his first game. It's preseason. There's a lot of room for errors, but geez, man, That was just about as poorly managed of a fourth quarter as you could have. And that's while his team was actually doing everything in their power to get back into the game and take the lead for him. He managed that game absolutely terribly. He's not calling plays on either side of the ball. His job is literally just to make sure that like people are not doing anything stupid, call timeouts in the right situation, make sure that like guys aren't throwing the ball when they should be running the ball, because even though he's not calling the plays, he can say, hey, that's overridden. You're not doing that here. And that's not what he did. He literally managed the end of the game as poorly as he possibly could. And I don't know how many people are going to be disagreeing with that. If you watched the end of that game, it was ugly.
Yeah. Geez, it's almost like Anthony Lynn's on his coaching staff.
Oh, thanks for reminding me. I'm glad I have that on my mind now. The other team I checked out for the NFC North, the Green Bay Packers. Jordan Love looked surprisingly competent just based off the fact that everything coming out of Packers camp in terms of what they had said he was looking like was making me scared that this guy was going to come on the field and be the next coming of somebody else who famously fell down in the regular season, looking like Nate Peterman. Honestly, like that's what I thought we were about to see, like some like just hideous performance from him, but he looked fine. And the other great note with the Packers is that Kylan Hill obviously dove into the end zone for a touchdown, which was absolutely amazing.
Yeah. That's something too that I've been seeing. Jordan Love was having a poor camp, and that Kylan Hill was having a great one. So I wanted to see how that played out. And I'm glad they were right about the Kylan Hill thing. I'm also glad they were wrong about Jordan Love because he was very solid. Sucks that he got hurt though. Hope that he can get back from that. Kylan Hill, just keep jumping, man. I love it.
All right, now you just got to tell me about the Vikings and the Bears. I caught the Bears game once again. No note, but what do you got?
Yeah, Justin Fields is gonna bench Andy Dalton. Just watching Justin Fields play, there's no way that after like 2 or 3 games, you're going to look at Andy Dalton and think, we're gonna stick it out with him. That Week 4 game, perfect game to start Justin Fields, and you should do it.
Yeah.
He looked so good.
Yeah.
Looked way better than Tua. He is what Dolphins fans think Tua is.
Yeah, I have to say that it felt pretty obvious to me. Even like not getting to sit down and focus on it too much, it felt like Fields was out there really balling. And if they get very far into the regular season without playing him, it's just gonna be like, man, what are you doing, Matt Nagy? Because he's way too special of a kid to not put out there. And I feel like basically what we've said all offseason has been correct about him. I'm ready for him to get on the field. I hope he plays week 1, but we all know he won't. And actually, sorry, I'm realizing now that I can kind of say something about the Vikings too. So since they're the last team to finish up here, they had the game against the Broncos, and just like what I was gonna say is I really didn't like even though they didn't have any starters out there, I didn't like how like their team felt. I felt like it was just kind of gross what they put on the field as a product for the first week of the preseason. Even though it was all number 2s, the depth did not look good at all.
Yeah, the team as a whole looked very lackadaisical, and because of that, there was only one guy that stood out to me, had a great game, Asim Rose, bright spot for them, 100-yard rusher. He looked very good. I mean, they didn't play any other starters, but none of these backups looked like they were trying to make a roster spot besides him. And I hope he does make the team now because he looked good.
Was he the RB like 3? Is he?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
What? Any info on him? Like, has he been around for a while? Or?
I think he's been around for a while. Maybe he was undrafted. I don't remember. Like, I didn't look him up after he. He's young. He's 23. University of Kentucky. Oh, he's a junior too. So there's that.
Okay, well, we'll root him on here at the Illegal Use of Hands to the Face football YouTube channel / whatever this thing is now. We're rooting for him. That's our guy. Okay. So Asim Rose.
Asim
Rose Jr. We're on the hype train.
Oh yeah.
And I think that's everybody. Is it not? We got everybody. Miss any teams?
No, we got them all. think we can cut this here.